What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Jesse Moonhillity
What's
from
up?
Frisco, Texas.
And Mark Cassara here from Frisco as well.
And welcome to the
Legacy Syndicate Podcast.
And today we're going to be bringing to you, it's just some raw, uncut material. We're going to talk about a couple different topics, but first and foremost, we want to introduce ourselves to you because what we're about to do with Legacy Syndicate is about to create an explosion on the internet and throughout the country because we want to raise up leaders. We want to raise up entrepreneurs, and we're going to be hitting on some crazy topics that's already on your mind. It's just most people are scared to talk about it, but we're just going to bring it to you raw and uncut. So make sure you share this out with your friends, with your family, with people you think is going to find value from.
Yeah, this is the origin story, guys. So we're going to share a little bit about us, but our main goal for this channel, this podcast, is to elevate men. We really want to focus on men, not that we're exclusive to men because women can watch too and they'll probably get a lot of good value from it. But we need more stronger men in our community. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And so one of the goals here is to elevate your thinking, your spiritual life, your physical life, your financial life, and to help you be a more well-rounded man.
Absolutely. So, they're taking masculinity out of our nation, and I believe men have a role not only being a husband, but being a parent as well, raising up young leaders for the next generation. So let's go ahead and get to it. Mark, you want to introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about you.
Guys, my name is Mark Cassara, originally hailing from Connecticut, up north New England, where it's not just cold weather-wise, but it's cold in the soul as well, man. There's the people up there. If you've been around New York, you've been around New England, you know it's a little hard to get into people's hearts. It's just a cold region, and I grew up there. And so one of the reasons we moved down south was to get our kids around a more friendly, family-centric environment, and obviously to be here with some good people. But I come from Connecticut, born and raised there. I never went to college, but I did go to ministry. A ministry college. I went to Bible college. I was there for about 2.5 years. Out of Bible college, I started as a youth pastor for my dad's church. He has a large church up in Connecticut, and I was a youth pastor for maybe 10 years. My wife and I also ran the young adult ministry. So all along, we've always loved talking to people, helping people level up, helping them work through their issues, work through problems, and just loving on people in general. Sure. And when we decided to move south, it was just we wanted to reinvent ourselves, kind of just create a new life for ourselves. So we moved to Tennessee for a couple of years, and then we just relocated to Dallas, Texas, to be a part of the number one financial firm in the country right now. We got a big office out here with a couple of hundred agents, and we're just loving life right now, just loving figuring out our next steps. But we know there's some big moves that are in store this year. 2023 is going to be big.
I'm on board with you. I truly feel that God has a hand not only over Texas, but over our industry and over our company as well. We have wartime leaders. We have leaders that they're in the trenches with you, and they're not scared to build their foundation of business on Christ and give all the glory and credit to God above. So that's the coattails we're hanging on, man. So now I want to know more about your story here in a moment, but I'll introduce myself, Jesse Moon, originally from Savannah, Georgia, grew up in a little place called Anderson, South Carolina. Many of you may be familiar with that. It's right outside of Clemson University or Clemson, South Carolina.
I've never heard of it.
You never? They're national champions.
No, I've heard of them. Clemson. I've never heard of the area that you live in.
Gotcha. It's called the Foothills. Gotcha. The Foothills, Greenville, Spartanburg. But guys, it's a small town. And in 2003, when we dropped the bombs into Baghdad, my oldest son, so I'm married and father of 7 kids. So my oldest son, he was 6 months old at the time, and I was up at 2:00 in the morning feeding him, and I was watching Fox News. And you know how Fox News likes to hypnotize you, right? So I was watching the bombs drop into Baghdad, and something came over me and said, Jesse, you got to go serve your country. Wow. So the next day, I went to the Marine Corps Recruiting Center, and there was a sign on the door that said, be back at 12. Oh. So I turned around, and that was the Army Recruiting Center. The door was wide open. I walked in. I said, send me to war. 2 weeks later, I was in basic training. Wow. It's man, the Marines lost out on the good Marine. Man, but that's all right. We're still brothers and sisters in arms. But with that being said, I was a good soldier, guys. They told me what to do, and I just executed. So I spent 16 years in the military, fighting the physical war of battle. And once I learned about financial strategies, it was really a rude awakening for me, because I said, why doesn't everybody know about this? I said, my new goal and new crusade is not to fight the wars overseas, but it's to fight the war that's on our home front. That's called the poverty battle. And Mark, the poverty battle starts with the mindset.
Absolutely.
And that's something we're going to really be talking about during this this whole series that we're about to put together. But guys, that's me, that's Mark, and we're coming to you, and hopefully we're going to change your life. Make sure when you're listening to us, you're taking some notes, because what we're putting down is gold, and we want you to pick it up.
We
truly change this world.
Absolutely.
But I want to know, how did you get into ministry? What was it that pulled you and attracted you to that industry?
So, born and raised in it.
Okay.
As a young boy, my dad started a church, and I always, so it's kind of like an how they like plan your life out. Maybe you don't know this. So sometimes if your father's a pastor or you're a pastor's kid, it's expected of you to just follow in his footsteps, take over the church. It's kind of just like a legacy, passing on a legacy, right? And so that was kind of always in my mind. And as I grew up, became a teenager, young adult, that was kind of the idea. Funny enough, I went to go to the military as well. I went and took the ASVAB test. I was going to go into the Navy. I was going to go into the Navy. No jokes. Okay.
We got to rethink this podcast. I'm just playing, guys.
I didn't go. But I did take the test, and I passed. And the recruiter said, "Son, we're ready to ship you off. Pack your bags." And I said, "Oh, hold on a second. I don't know if this is the right idea." So I decided, was I going to follow my father's footprints, or was I going to go on my own route? Suffice it to say, I went into ministry rather than the military, which was spiritual military.
Sure.
For those of you who don't really realize that, because we're fighting a spiritual battle.
Spiritual warfare is real.
Nonstop.
It's real.
Nonstop. It's more real than the table we're sitting at right now. So I went into ministry, was there for two and a half years, came back, and then I just started my journey, reaching out to the underprivileged kids and underprivileged youth, and mentoring them. A lot of kids that we grew up with didn't have dads, or they didn't have moms, and so there was a lot of need for that big brother, that kind of that figure in their life. So we did that for a long time, loved it. Lots of retreats, lots of cool things we did. My wife and I started a young adult ministry, 18 and up. And so we built that up from the ground, had a couple hundred people once a month attend our big gatherings. We'd have music, and it was just a big young church service, real hip, real cool. And then we just kind of got tugged into a different direction. Sometimes you're in life for seasons, right? What you're doing now may not be what you're going to do in 10 years from now. There's seasons and everything. And so we felt like our season was up. We felt like we needed to kind of get out from the roof of my father's house and kind of establish our own, right? At that point, I had 6 kids. So you have 7, I have 6. I have a set of twins, a set of triplets, and a 26-year-old who has a baby. And now I have I'm a 40-year-old grandpa. So as a matter of fact, my birthday's tomorrow. I'm 41 tomorrow.
Happy birthday,
man. Thank you.
What are the ages of your twins?
Twins are 11 years old. Triplets are 7 years old. Oldest is 26, and then the grandbaby's 3 years old.
Your hairline will be like mine pretty soon.
Well, I've already got gray all over my beard. My whole thing's coming in gray. I'm getting gray up here. But it's a sign of wisdom.
So it was, you were going through your seasons.
Yeah.
How many of you watching this right now are currently going through a season that you might not, the light at the end of the tunnel might be dim. It might seem like you're going through a storm right now. You can't seem to get ahead. And you're asking yourself, why me? Or God, help me. I just want to let you know that it's just a season, guys.
Yeah.
We all go through different seasons and walks in life. And it's crazy how you said that is we go through seasons in different things in our life, and I know financial is one of those seasons.
Oh yeah,
and that's another reason why I chose to get out of the military. Is I did everything that they told me to do. I went to school. I got 2 master's degrees.
Yeah,
I was the #1 Army recruiter for 8 years in a row, but our bank account didn't reflect my work ethic.
You were still getting paid the same amount as the guy that was sitting.
It didn't matter how much energy I showed up with. It didn't matter how much my output was. My bank account and my pay was still the same as the guy who showed up late to work.
Yeah.
And I know that there's millions of people that's watching this right now, and you feel the same exact way, guys. There is solutions to your problems. The question is are you going to prepare yourself to see the solution, or is it just going to pass you by and go to somebody else, guys? Zig Ziglar said that success will happen when opportunity meets preparation.
Ooh, that's good.
So you just got to be preparing yourself constantly, the things you're listening to, the people you're surrounding yourself with, the books that you're reading, and preparing yourself for the opportunity to pat you on the shoulder, because it's going to come.
Yeah.
It's going to come. You just got to be ready for it.
Yeah, the thing about opportunity is opportunities come and go, but really good opportunities only come once or twice in your lifetime.
I've heard that before.
And if you pass up on the first opportunity thinking maybe you don't have time, you don't have the ability, you're not smart enough, man, that's like leaving money on the table. But God is good, and He will give you an opportunity again. Just make sure you do what you did last time. If you see an opportunity and you don't know how to do the opportunity, jump into the opportunity, figure out how to do it later. That's who said that? There was a guy, forgot the guy's name. It'll come to me in a minute, but that was a great quote that I heard recently.
Well, that's Sir Richard Brunson said
Richard Brunson, correct? Yes,
he said
did.
If an opportunity, a life-changing opportunity presents itself, say yes and figure it out later. Learn about it later.
Figure it out later.
I heard that about 4 or 5
a lot
years
of
ago.
times people want to figure everything out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And by the time they're figuring out, they're waiting for the perfect opportunity. The opportunity's already gone.
It's not going to happen.
Or they're too late to that opportunity. Everybody's already passed them up.
Yeah, they're waiting on the stars to align.
Yeah.
So
It's never a perfect time, guys.
I call that the information gather.
Yeah.
They're or assholes.
Asshole.
They're just asking all this information, but they never do anything with
Don't
it.
be an asshole. Don't be an asshole.
There's a lot of geniuses that you don't know their names
Yeah.
because they decided to sit on the couch and just hold the information. They were selfish with the information. They never did anything. They never shared it. They never implemented the knowledge that they learned. Because, my friends, the middle class have been teaching us that knowledge is power. But I beg to differ. Knowledge is powerless unless you apply it.
There you go.
So what's some of the hot topics right now that's going on in the news? It's one thing. I was at the gym this morning and I opened up my phone and it was right there in front of me about chickens, fires, warehouses.
Crazy.
Not just chickens, but hundreds of thousands
of chickens. So, guys, on this channel, what you're going to come to find out is that we will touch very current events. We will touch trending topics, current events, things that are happening in the mainstream, because those are things that affect our lives. It affects our mental stability, our spiritual, our physical. All of those things affect us. And so we feel it's important to cover those things and to give our unbiased perspective. Now, Jesse and I don't agree on everything, so you're going to hear different points of views at times, and we're even going to bring other people of maybe the opposite side of the tracks that disagree with us to come on and to give unbiased opinions, because we want to give you the information so that you can figure out which side that you believe and what's more important to you. So as far as the chickens go,
it was a crazy story.
100,000 chickens gone, completely killed.
Do you have the article?
Yeah, it was at a farm of all places, Connecticut, where I come from.
Hold on, isn't it snowing there right now?
It might be. It must be like 20s or 30s in Connecticut right now. But I grew up in Connecticut. That was my stomping ground. Now, the place where these farms were are upstate Connecticut, Hillendale Farms. And what happened was there was a unknown fire that took place, burnt down the entire farm to a crisp. Hundreds of thousands of hens. Hens produce eggs. Eggs are what's going up the fastest right now in our grocery store. It's not just inflation that's causing that. And me personally, I don't like to always put on the tinfoil hat, but today I will. I think these types of things are planned. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but it feels too planned that it happens too often for it to be just a fluke.
I can agree, but we got to ask the question, how many cocks died?
Probably a lot. Probably a lot.
Okay. So I've agreed to it. There's no coincidence that everything going on in America about chickens.
Yeah.
I eat 8 eggs a day. My kids, we're on this fitness journey, right? So with having 7 kids and we're all eating eggs a day, we pay attention to the cost of eggs right now. And
you were telling me you were going to Walmart to buy your eggs at one point, and it was this price. Now they're this price.
So Walmart sells these not just the regular 12 cartons, but they sell a box of eggs, and it's got 2 pallets of 18 eggs apiece. We were paying $12 for them 3 months ago.
What are they now?
I went to go get them $19.99 just last week. $20.
God.
So,
wow.
And then it's the report that came out last week was when the inflation report came out at 6.5%, the cost of eggs rose by 64%.
Wow.
And then that's the same day I went to buy the eggs, and I was like, good grief.
Yeah.
Right. So so we're eating about a box per day.
Yeah.
So.
Inflation's ripping us apart right now. Inflation was at 9%. Now it's coming down a little bit. It's not coming down as fast as the Fed thought it was going to. They said it was going to be transitory, and it has not been transitory. It's been eating us alive. The problem with inflation is a lot of people right now are trying to store a lot of money in their bank. They're trying to save. Not that they're doing it, but they're trying to stick their money in a bank. And what happens when you keep your money in the bank? What happens?
It just sits there.
You're
losing purchasing power.
You're losing purchasing power. So that same $1,000 that you have in your bank account today, in 6 months from now, is only going to be worth about $700-800. Yep. With inflation, staying around 6-8%. Yep. And so that's an epidemic of itself. Is financial literacy. There's lack of that. So people don't know what to do with their money right now.
Absolutely. To go off or to rewind a little bit to these eggs and the chicken situation is we know that in America, the consumption of chicken wings, chicken breasts, chicken thighs, chicken legs, chicken gizzards, there's been over the past 12 months, 57 million chickens have either been euthanized or slaughtered due to the bird flu.
Say that number again.
57 million.
So this is aside from the 100 million that just got
the 100,000.
100,000
caught on fire.
Aside from the 100,000.
57 million that have they terminated them because of the bird flu.
Oh,
the bird flu. They're saying they're blaming wild birds from Canada flying here and dropping their stuff. So, but it's across the world. It's not just the U.S. It's across the world. What are we going to eat now? Like if chickens are going, we're looking at places like Colorado. They lost 90% of their egg laying capability.
Wow.
So that's why you see inflation rising with eggs, guys.
Yeah.
But 57 million eggs. 57 million chickens.
That's crazy.
So and 64% increase. So I want to go back to what you were talking about with inflation just sitting there. Many of us were taught to go to school, get a job, and open up a bank account, guys. And then we're taught about compound interest. And just going from our social media posts and some of the comments that we see on there, like really people like ignorance all across America. Yeah. And Will Rogers says it best. He says that it's not what you know that will hurt you or kill you. It's what you think you know that just ain't so.
Right.
And when we're making these videos, it's to provide value to you. We're not making videos and lying about stuff to try to fool you. No, we're bringing good content to you so you can find value and elevate your life to the next level financially. So when we're giving out, just because you heard it from somebody else does not mean it's correct information. Because just remember, there's only one truth.
Yeah.
I have my truth. You have your truth. They have their truth. But there's only one truth.
Right.
So you got to be able to see through the smoke. But that's why in this channel, we want to be able to give you the value. You go and do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
But we want to give you an unbiased source. That way there's no propaganda. There's no left side, right side.
Right.
We're right down the middle, and you formulate your own opinions and thoughts on the content that we're bringing to you.
And that's important to do your own due diligence. As you hear facts, figures, numbers here, men and women lie, but what doesn't lie?
Numbers.
Numbers don't lie. So always go do your due diligence, figure it out yourself. But as far as maybe some of you don't know, Jesse and I have a large social media presence online. And a lot of what we do is provide free, let me say that again, free value, free content all day long on our social medias. I just had one video where we talked about fractional reserve lending and the fractional banking system on my TikTok. I posted it 2 days ago at 10 p.m. It's over 2.5 million views at this point. Yep. Tens of thousands of likes and comments, thousands of shares. but it's nothing that I did other than just provide value.
That's all.
And people are taking it and saying, oh my God, my friend needs to learn about this. My mom needs to know about this. And so that's what we're trying to do on this channel. So if you haven't followed us on social medias, you can follow me at money.smart on TikTok and money.smarts with a Z on Instagram. Where can they find you?
The Real Jesse Moon. Any social media platform.
That's
the
it.
Real Jesse Moon.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about not fractional reserve banking, but I think there's some misunderstanding when it comes to what is compound interest and what is velocity of money. A lot of people think that they're the same thing, but they're not. Velocity is not a fancy word. It's an actual word that has meaning to it. Compound interest, a lot of people think, well, I get compound interest in my bank account. I get compound interest in the stock market. You're absolutely right. However, in the bank, you're getting fixed interest. Your principal multiplied by the interest received that year. Next year, principal multiplied by the interest received that year. That's not compounding. It's fixed. In the stock market, you are getting compound interest where it's interest on top of interest on top of interest. However, the way compound interest works, my friends, is it needs time. So the longer something can compound over time without being interrupted by taxes or market losses, the more influence the compound effect has on the growth.
Right.
So it's interest on top of interest on top of interest on top of interest. However, in your stock market, 1 year goes by, good. 2 years goes by, good. It compounds. Let's say year 3, the stock market takes a correction. You just interrupted the compound curve. Now it has to start all over again, my friend.
That's why you can never call it uninterrupted compound interest.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's only one place to get uninterrupted compound interest, but that's going to be a different episode.
Correct.
But compound interest is interest on top of interest on top of interest, but it needs time. Velocity, on the other hand, is because think about it. They can print money all day long, but the thing that they can't print is time. I can't, even if I was a multi-billionaire, I can't say, here, Mark, here, take $10 million to give me 10 more years on my life.
Right.
Okay. So they're printing money. They can't print time. Velocity is having your money working in more places at the same time simultaneously.
And that's what the banks do with our money.
Correct.
The banks use velocity of money because they take our $1,000 that we deposit and they go lend it out within microseconds, 9 different ways, and but they don't just lend out your 1,000; they're making more thousands.
That's the fractional reserve lending.
That's the fractional reserve lending, and so they're making 1,500 to 2,400%, and they're giving you the shavings
0.03.
And people still argue with us online saying, "I'd rather keep my money in the bank because I can access it at any time." It's crazy, man.
So it's the craziest thing because our school system has condition us to think, act, and feel a certain way towards things that we're not educated on. It's the weirdest thing, Mark. So,
but we've bought into the line. We've adopted it as our own.
Yep, that's why we call it the middle class mindset. It's not your own fault, 100%. It is a little bit once you know the real solution, but you still do what you're so used to, and that's conditioning. It's because so, for example, think about a relationship. If I was in a relationship that was abusive, verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally, whatever type of abusive it was, people that are in that type of relationship would rather stay in that relationship instead of get out of it because they're familiar with it. Yeah. Or if they get out of it, somehow, some way, they either go back to the same relationship or they get into another relationship with the same issues. Yeah. It's like they're attracting it because they're familiar with it. And they keep saying, I don't know why.
Sure. But and then nobody wants to get uncomfortable.
Correct.
Nobody wants to be uncomfortable. You want to stay. We're creatures of habit and creatures of comfort. So even though we get messed up, a day goes by, we don't feel as jacked up as we did the prior day. So we say, okay, we can deal with it a little longer. We can stay with this relationship a little longer. We'll keep our money here a little longer because you don't have that urgency to change. No. People, I put a post on Facebook about change. Everybody wants to change their life, but nobody wants to change their life. It's crazy. Nobody wants to implement the change in their life, but everybody wants change, right?
The craziest thing I just saw you post recently is you said, so I'm going to pay money to go to school, to get a job, to pay my school back.
Big circle.
It's a cycle.
Crazy.
And everything in this world is we live in a cyclic world, and it goes around in full cycle. And the further back in the past that you can see, the further back you look, the further forward you can see. And with that being said, Bank of America just came out with an article yesterday
about layoffs, right?
Layoffs.
Unemployment.
Yep. Unemployment is because what you hear all across the news right now is that unemployment rates are at the lowest that they've ever been for the past several years. But yet we hear about big tech companies laying off. Amazon was 18,000 people. Google 12,000 people. And then you have all these different hundreds of thousands of layoffs. And Bank of America just dropped this article as we're about to enter into a recession. We technically already been in a recession, but now we're about to enter into a recession, is what they're saying. But Bank of America said that starting Q1 of 2023, that 175,000 layoffs per month.
So Brian Moynihan, I don't know how to say his last name. He's the CEO of Bank of America.
Okay.
He recently said that their employees, they're up to about 215,000 employees. Check this out. He just put a quote out. He said, we need to run that back down. He said, we've overstocked ourselves with employees and workers and people doing their jobs. He said, we need to run it back down, which means they're going to cut from the top. They're going to lay people off. People that have been there for 13, 14, 15 years, they don't care. You're just a number. Yep. We've sat with clients mutually where they've been an employee for 30 plus years, and all of a sudden they get let go by an email.
Yep.
They get let go by a text message.
It's business.
It's business is business, and you can't say anything about it. But it's sad for all these people that are going to be laid off. And in Bank of America, they're just being treated like a number. As much value as they brought, they're just a number.
I really think what's happening, guys, is, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if it's fact, but it makes sense to me. So think about this. During the past 2 years when we were locked down, everybody transitioned to remote work. And these companies were hiring people, a lot of people, because in the beginning it made sense. People were getting the work done, more profitability for the company. But now COVID's over with. People are going back to the office. These CEOs are saying, hey, you got to get back to work. And these
people are still wearing masks. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
That's another episode.
Yeah. It's you're in Texas. You don't need to wear a mask. That's crazy. But the thing is people – the employers are now saying, hey, you got to come back to work. Yeah. Because there's a level of accountability when you're in the office. Sure. It's just a different feeling, culture, environment.
You can't build culture over Zoom.
Correct.
You can't. We know that firsthand trying to build a firm here in Dallas. You can't do it over Zoom. And when I was prior to the financial services, I was working for a startup company in marketing and advertising. They sent us home for the pandemic. We were home for 3-4 months. And then we got the email. It's time to come in. If you're not willing to come in, you can call it your last 2 weeks. And we had to get back in, or else we'd been fired.
And now people are feeling entitled. They're like, I'm not going back to work. So they're getting rid of them. They realize like you said, they're overstocked on employees. Now they got to cut them. And then it also leads to what? These big billion-dollar organizations, who is their primary responsibility to?
The
employees,
the shareholders.
The shareholders. They got to keep the shareholders happy.
Absolutely.
So if I hired you to
the customer is not even their biggest priority. No. It's the shareholders that they have to appease and show that they're profitable, or else the shareholders will what? They'll cut funding.
They'll pull out.
They'll pull their investments.
Yep. So what happens is, you see all the time, every quarter, these companies have to submit a quarterly report or earnings reports. And if they see that they're about to be under profit, in the quarterly report, what they do is they have a mass layoff. They take that employee's annual salary and add it to their revenue base to keep the shareholders happy. And then they'll hire back again, somebody younger, pay them less, more revenue for the company.
Vicious.
And a lot of these companies right now, they're trying to play catch up because they did take losses over the past 2 years. Yeah. So they're just trying to make up some revenue. And we're seeing it real big in the airlines right now.
Oh, yeah.
They lost a lot of money.
That was big during 2020. Lots of layoffs. Hundreds of thousands of people got laid off. And it kind of recovered a little bit, kind of stable up, but now they're cutting again. Yep. There's a mess in the airline system now.
And there's going to be hot topics like this all across the country. Yeah. And they're coming daily. They're coming even more rapidly now. And what the times that we're currently experiencing right now is scary for a lot of people. I know it's scary for me because I got 7 kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, I don't know if we should take our kids here at this time. Like, I don't know. Like, you can't, like, people are doing some crazy things when their back is against the wall.
Yeah.
But I also know people that when their back is against the wall, that's when they find who they truly are. And that's the day they're actually born.
Sure.
And they find their why and their purpose in life. But I just want to give a challenge to each and every one of you that if you're in that sticky situation right now where that light in the tunnel, it seems dim, open your eyes up, stand up, rise up, speak out, and become the boss and become the next best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a coach, a mentor in your life currently showing you the way, giving you the blueprint to 6 and 7 figures or that next level that you're seeking, continue to follow this podcast, share it out with everybody because we're going to bring value to you. And who knows, we might be able to coach you sometime.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good first show, Coach. I don't know about you.
Yeah, short, sweet, to the point. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. And we look forward to learning your story.
We appreciate you guys watching. Again, share, follow, subscribe. Leave a couple comments if you're able to. We're primarily going to put this on YouTube. It's going to be a YouTube video podcast. It's also going to be available on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts as well. But it's going to be a little delayed. So first and foremost, check us out on YouTube. But in the comment section, ask us questions. Drop some comments. Continue the conversation. We'll be in there answering, and then that'll help us gear up to the next episode and figuring out exactly what you guys want to hear and what you guys want to see.